I hear all the folks on TV saying, why doesn't Biden get this done? Well, because Biden only has a majority of effectively 4 votes in the House and a tie in the Senate, with 2 members of the Senate who vote more with my Republican friends. I'm asking Vice President Harris to help these efforts and lead them among her many other responsibilities.
Welcome back. President Biden talking in the third person and bucking his responsibilities as he gives the vice president yet another job.
This while claiming he hasn't followed through on major parts of his agenda because of moderate Democrats. Here to react is Fox Nation host Tomi Lahren. Tomi, good to see you this morning.
Oh, good to see you. And I wish that was the case, that he wasn't able to ramrod through a lot of those liberal policies. But as we know, by looking at the last 100 or so odd days, we've had a whole lot of liberal policies that he has been able to accomplish. Not exactly the accomplishment I would have liked to seen, but, you have to give credit where credit is due. They've been able to do a whole lot to transform our nation in a short time.
Well, he's seeming to place blame on Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema. Is this their fault?
Well, at the end of the day, I thank them for having a good head on their shoulders and understanding that the American people did not vote for a radical agenda, which is why they elected Joe Biden in the first place. They thought that they were going to have a moderate. They thought that they were going to have more someone that was more like a Kirsten Sinema or a Manchin in the White House, and they certainly didn't get that. But I also think it's hilarious that Basement Biden is passing off yet another job to Kamala Harris. At the end of the day, Kamala Harris will be better tasked with just taking selfies and posting tone-deaf tweets on Memorial Day than tackling any real problems or anything that needs or requires an actual solution. Because as we know, it's been, 70 days since she's been tasked with being the border czar, has yet to visit the border. She's also been tasked with infrastructure, green jobs that those that are waiting on their Keystone Pipeline replacement jobs are still waiting for. So at the end of the day, when is Joe Biden going to realize that whether people like me like it or not, he was elected president, not Kamala, so maybe he should take accountability for this agenda that he is supposedly so proud of.
Yeah, it seems like the Kamala plate is already full with a lot of uneaten food. Meantime, here's more from Joe on voting rights. Take a listen.
A lot of the members of the Black Caucus knew John Lewis better than I did, but I knew him. He called the right to vote precious, almost sacred. This sacred right is under assault. It's simply un-American.
Tomi, is this just the latest example from the left of name-calling when the facts don't line up with your position?
Well, absolutely. I've warned about this for quite some time now. When the Democrats don't think that they can win on their agenda or their policies, which we're going to see really hit home in the next year or two, then they're going to try to change the rules to win, which is exactly what H.R. 1 is and exactly the thing he's trying to pressure his colleagues into passing. But at the end of the day, the right to vote is sacred, but election integrity is also sacred. What the Democrats are seeking to do is take the COVID free-for-all we saw in 2020 and codify it, and they're going to use race and emotions in order to do that, and they're going to pressure some of their other Democratic colleagues into falling in line with that. They also want to do a major power grab, take away a lot of the election responsibilities from the states. So when states like Georgia or now Texas want to pass laws to really ensure election integrity, they want to take that and federalize it at a national level so that they're unable to do that. This is a huge power grab. They're going to use pressure in which to do it, and I hope that their Democratic colleagues stand firm on it, because we need to ensure that no illegal vote is counted, no double vote is counted, and no dead vote is counted, whether the Democrats like it or not.
Tomi, the media's done a 180 on a number of topics, some in the media anyway. We've been talking about it as it relates to coronavirus and trying to find the origins of it. But how about when it comes to what's been going on in Portland? Let's pull up these headlines here and take a look. And you'll see that the flashback headline from the Washington Post, July 2020, it reads, violent protest clashes turned Portland into a right-wing boogeyman. And then a new one from May 2021 says anarchists and an increase in violent crime hijacked Portland's social justice movement. Your reaction?
Well, I don't know how you can hijack a movement that was never about social justice and was always about chaos and anarchy. But at the end of the day, Portland is what happens when you let the Democrats get every item on their radical wish list. That's what you get, Portland, when you also placate to groups like BLM and Antifa that seek to defund the police. You see spikes in violent crime. But at the end of the day, the media also played a part in this by passing it off as mostly peaceful, by passing it off as social justice. They had a hand to play in this mayhem, this lawlessness, this chaos, and now Now they want to step back and wonder how the heck it happened? Well, let's remember that we used to have a law and order president that sent in federal agents to deal with this mayhem, something that the mayor of Portland did not want. But at the end of the day, Democrats are going to have to deal with the fact that they have lawlessness in a lot of major cities run by Democrats, and it's going to hit them hard in the midterms when they try to be all about law and order and keeping people safe. We're going to look to the record and see that the places the Democrats run and the places that the media has placated to, those Democrat policies, they have complete and utter lawlessness, and average Americans on both sides of the political aisle do not feel safe in their own communities. That's a problem for Democrats, and they need to take ownership of it.